Hello everyone, welcome to Victory Design. I'm thrilled to have you all here today as we are going to dive into an essential aspect of programming that can significantly enhance your coding skills, which is the topic comments. So whether you are just starting out your journey in programming or looking to improve the readability and maintainability of your code, understanding how to use comments effectively is very crucial. So guys, let's dive in and deep into this topic. Now, in programming, what are comments? What are comments, right? What do they mean? Comments are pieces of text that you can include in your text or in your code to explain what it does. Now, they are not executed by the computer. Instead, they serve as annotations or notes for anyone reading the code, such as yourself or any other person. This includes you, your future self, or any other developer who might work with your code later. So as your code becomes more complex, it can get very hard for both you and others to understand the purpose and functions of every line of code. That is why you need comments. So here are some reasons or importance of comments. Number one is clarity, guys. Clarity, because comments help clarify the meaning of your code, because they provide context and explanations for complex logic, making it easier for others and even you yourself to understand what you are trying to achieve. This means that whenever you have a particular line of code, sometimes some blocks of code can be so complex that even you yourself that wrote it, you may not understand what you actually did there. Although back then when you were writing it, you knew what you were doing. But now as time went on, since you might have forgotten, you may not have an idea of what was going on there. So making use of correct comments would help you clarify the meaning of that particular line of code. Not just you, but anyone that can be or would be making use of your code later. Alright. And number two is that comments serve as a documentation for your code, because they help you remember the rationale behind your decisions when you visit the code later. Like the reason why you wrote that code. Why did you write that code? You making use of comments can help you explain why that code is there. And it is very useful when you are in a collaborative environment, like when you want to collaborate with other developers in developing a particular website or app or whatsoever, or any place that there are a lot of persons working on one particular project. It is very important because it helps for the purpose of the documentation. Then also it helps for collaboration. Now when working in teams, comments help other developers that are working with you understand your thought process and the decisions you have made while writing that code. Now you might write a particular code for a particular reason, of which other persons may not know at a glance, but them looking at your comment, they will then know and understand your thought process and the reason why you wrote that code. Now this fosters better collaboration and reduces misunderstandings. Alright. So that is a very important reason of why you need comments on your code. And the last but not the least is for debugging, the purpose of debugging. Now comments can be invaluable in during debugging. Yes. Now when you have a very complex amount of code, you are definitely going to experience errors, which is bugs, right? When you have comments, it make it easier for you to debug those code. Why? Because you already have something telling that okay, this particular line of code is doing this good. Okay, the error is not coming from here, definitely, because this comment is showing that this particular line of code is doing this particular thing, and this thing that is doing is not related to what is being affected by the bug. Do you get? So you making use of comments will make you debug a lot faster. It will make you debug a lot faster. And if you're a beginner, comments act as a guide to understanding how different parts of your code interact. Let's say for example, say, okay, you wrote a comment that this particular thing, this code is going to display how are you on the browser. Then this code is going to display the button. This code is going to display, if you press the button, it should pop up a particular message. Do you get? So as a beginner, comments act as a guide to understanding how different parts of your code interact. Alright. So those are the different importance of comments, and that is why you really need comments in your code. Now there are two primary types of comments in JavaScript. We have the single line comments and the multi-line comments. Now the single line comments are created using two forward slash. Okay, now I think for first of all, I now in coding, or rather in Java, in development as a whole, guys, we have different kinds of comments in your HTML, in your CSS, and in your JavaScript. Now, each particular file, or each particular language makes use of their own different types of comments, but they all have two types, right? Of which we have the single line comments and the multi-line comments. And the single line comments are created when you make use of this double slash that you can see right here, double slash, right? Anything written after this double slash on the same line will be ignored by the JavaScript interpreter. Now, today we're going to deal on just comments in JavaScript. Then after I'm done with comments in JavaScript, I also go briefly into comments in HTML and comments in CSS. But for now, we are dealing in comments in JavaScript. The comments you make, the way you write comments in JavaScript is different from the way you write comments in HTML and CSS. If I write a JavaScript comment on an HTML file, it would not work. If I write a JavaScript comment on a CSS file, it will not work because that particular comment style or type of comment can be used only in a JavaScript file. Hope you understand, guys. So today right now, I'm going to deal on only the comments in JavaScript. Of which, when you're trying to comment in JavaScript, you can write it in two forms. Either you make use of the single line comment, which is this, or you make use of the multi-line comment, which is this. Now the single line comment is done by having this double slash, of which anything you write after this double slash is going to become a comment. Anything you write on this line, on the same line you put this double slash is going to be a comment. And let's just particularize that. Now remember, this is a JavaScript. Let me just clean this off. Now this is a JavaScript file, right? Now if I want to write a comment, and note that comments always have the color green. They always have the color green. Do you see it, guys? Now let me write, this is a boy. Automatically, this will not display. Why? Because it is a comment, and it is a single line comment. If I'm to go to the next line and write anything, it's not becoming a comment anymore, because this double slash only applies to whatever is written after the double slash and in the same line. The moment you press enter and go to the next line, it will automatically stop working. It will automatically become a code and not a comment. That is why it is called a single line comment. Then we have the multi-line comment, which is this one. Now the multi-line comment is used for longer comments spanning into multiple lines, of which it starts with this slash and this star, slash star, and it also ends with star slash, that you can see here. Now everything between these symbols is treated as a comment, and it is useful for providing detailed explanation or documenting complex logic. Now let's just particularize that. Now remember, let's say for example I have a particular code, right? A particular code. Let me just bring that. Good. Let me just bring back this particular code. Now let's say for example I want to comment on this console.log, for example. I want to comment there, and I want to make use of a single comment, right? A single line comment. All I have to do is press slash slash and say, okay, this code below is used to print hello. It used to print hello in the console, right? Do you see, guys? Now this is me writing just a very simple comment. But if I'm to write something very long, right? If I'm to write a very let me say if I'm to write something very long, whereby I have to go to the next line and say, also this code can be used in JavaScript. That is me just practically adding more. Guys, what happens? It's no more works. Why? Because I have moved on to the next line. And remember that this particular double slash is what we call the single line comment. So if I want to be able to like press enter and go to the next line, I have to make use of the multi-line comment, slash which is slash and asterisk, or rather slash and star. Do you see now? The minute I put slash and star, everything in between it becomes a comment. But the moment I end it, which is me putting it after this one, which is me putting star and slash, automatically it stops it. Why? Because everything here from here to here is inside of this star, of this slash and star, and the other star and slash. So everything inside this multi-line comment is what we call the multiple line comment. Anything here, whether you press enter and write a whole lot of things, they will all become comment. They are all going to return to comment. So imagine me now, I don't want to make use of those codes, right? Everything here, I don't want to delete them, but I don't want to make use of them. What do? I turn them to comment. All I have to do is carry this one here, copy, and bring them to the ending and paste. They've all become comments. So you see that, guys, notice something, that before I put this, it was showing me error. You see, because this once you see that this particular thing is showing red, means that there's an error in your code. I see the red line here. But the moment I put in this closing comment, automatically my code becomes correct. And anything I write there continues. Do you understand? Because now it has become a comment. So guys, this is basically an example of how to write a multiple line comment. Of which, if you want to write a longer comment, or if you want to write a comment that spans into multiple lines, you can easily make use of multi-line comments. Or if you don't want to delete a particular code, but you don't want to display, or you don't want your JavaScript to run that code on your browser, all you have to do is to change that particular code into a comment. It's that simple. Now, benefits of using comments. We now know how to write comments, right? But let's discuss the benefits, of which we already did, not quite long. We discussed that it can be used for clarification purposes. That means with comments, you can explain the logic behind your code. It can be used for documentation purposes, right? To serve for your code in terms of explaining the purpose of your functions, explaining the purpose of any particular line of code. It can be used for collaboration. But that means when you are working with other developers on a particular project, you can easily explain why you gave them that particular line of code by writing them in comments. And then it can be used for something, I can say, the most important reason, debugging. Because with comments, you can actually disable some parts of your code without deleting them. Yes. Let's say, for example, you are trying to debug your code and then you are expressing some error, okay, and you're trying to find out where the error is coming from. All you have to do, because you already wrote comment, okay, this particular comment, this particular code is for an object. All you have to do, you can just, instead of deleting that particular line of code, you can just turn the code into a comment. Thereby, it will still be there on your code, right? But it will not display, or it will not be run on your browser. That way, you can easily debug and find out what error is happening in your code. All right. So by commenting out the log statement, instead of deleting it, you can keep track of what was there without losing any context. All right. So guys, those are just the basic benefits of making use of comments in your code. All right. So let's give some more examples. Let's go back to our code and give some more examples. Now, let me write a particular line of code, for example. Remember, guys, that we are in JavaScript. This is JavaScript. Now, let's write a particular code. Let's write a function, for example. A function of, let's say, a function called calculation. Let's say CAL, just calc, right? Calc, say A, comma, and B. Of which, what would it do? we say it should return for us, should return A times, say A times B, alright, plus B plus B. So you may not know what I'm doing, guys. This is a function in JavaScript which we will discuss in a future class. But this is just me basically writing out. This is me just basically writing out a function, or rather a code. Now, at first glance, this function might be confusing, because it is very, very confusing because we've not discussed function. But I'm just making use of it for just explanation purposes. Now, although you may not get what a function really is, what this code does is that, first of all, we have A and B, like you can see. Now, what does A and B represent? We don't know, right? We don't know. You saw me write A and B. What does A and B represent? I don't know. Now, without a comment, imagine you don't know what functions are in JavaScript. I do, right? But you don't know. Without comments, you will not know what this thing is talking about. But with comments, you will know what it is talking about. Now, without comments, it has to tell what A and B is, right? But now let's add some comment to it. Now, what does that mean? Let's write a single line comment, for example. Let's say this is a function. This is a JavaScript function. Right? This is a JavaScript function used to calculate a specific formula, of which the formula is A times B plus B. A specific formula based on two numbers, that is A and B. Do we get now? Okay, now guys, let's assume that you are a novice, right? And you don't know, you have absolutely no idea what this whole code, this function code is talking about, right? But when you come here and you see this comment saying that this is a JavaScript function used to calculate a specific formula based on two numbers, at least it gives you an idea of what this code is talking about. Okay, good. Even if someone asks that this function, what is it? You see that, okay, first of all, it is a JavaScript function and it is due to calculate a specific formula based on two numbers. So that is what a comment is doing. But if I'm to remove the comment, you would have absolutely no idea what this comment, or rather what this code is doing in your website. Do we understand, guys? So now you can clearly state what the function does at the top. I can explain what happens inside the function. So in the sense that you can just come here as well. You can still come here and still write comments here, guys. You can also write comments here. So you can now say that, let's say you can say this comment now we're saying multiply A by B, then divide, or rather then add the answer, then add B, right? That's what this return. This return means return A plus B, that's multiply A times B and add B. So now remember, now know something, guys. This from here to here is a line of code, right? And then at the beginning of it, we also have a comment, and inside of this line of code, we can also have another comment. Do we see, guys? So you can put a comment inside of another comment, or I can put a comment inside of a block of code. Do you understand? So this is actually the simplest way for me to explain how to make use of comments in JavaScript. By doing this, it is much easier for anybody, anyone, both you yourself that wrote the code and someone in the future, to understand the purpose of this function, or rather the purpose of this block line of code and how it works. So to wrap up this class, guys, let's just go and cover some best practices for writing effective comments. Now, some effective ways of writing comments. Some effective ways. Number one is to be what? Be clear and concise. That is the best practice for writing comments. Be clear and concise, in the sense that when you're writing your comments, write comments that are easy to understand. Like, make it as simple as possible. Avoid all those over technical terms, jargons, or technicalities, except that they are very, very necessary, or they are very, very needed. Avoid them. Make your comments as clear and simple, as concise and short as possible. Alright. Number two, explain why, not just what. What does that mean? Now, why is it important to describe what your code does? It's also helpful to explain why you did that code that way. So not just explain why, but explain what. Explain what that code is doing and explain why you wrote that code. Do you understand? Explain what the code is doing, that's the function of the code, and explain why you wrote the code. Number three is that keep comments up to date. Now, if you change your code, make sure to update the comments or remove any comment that is no longer applicable. It's not that, for example, you wrote a particular code that of which the code is displaying hello on your browser, for example, and then as you're coding, you change that code from it displaying hello to it displaying how do you do. Then, but in the comment, when you first created the code of which it was displaying hello, you wrote that this code is displaying hello in my browser, and then you then change your code to be displaying how do you do. But then your comment still remained, this code is displaying hello in my browser. Do you understand? So once you make changes on your code, always update the comment. That is, change, since before it was showing this code is displaying hello on my browser, and now you have changed it to be displaying how do you do. So what do you do? Go back to your code and change the comment. That means make it now start displaying this code is displaying how do you do in my browser. Do you understand, guys? So that means keep your comments up to date. And the last but not the least, use consistent formatting. Now, what does that mean? Formatting means is also what I can call indenting, of which we are going to discuss that in a future class. But guys, use constant formatting. That means if you're working on larger projects or collaborating with others, establish a consistent style for writing your comments throughout your code base. If you always like making use of single line comments, always do that. If you always like making use of multiple line comments, make use of that. Don't today you make use of single line comments, tomorrow you make use of multiple line comments. That is extremely wrong. So your commenting should be consistent. If you want to stick to double line commenting, so whereas if you want to stick to single line commenting, no problem, stick to it. If you want to stick to multiple line commenting, stick to it, but don't start clashing multiple line and single line, except you have to, or except you need to, except it's a must. That is when you can clash them together. So guys, comment as a learning tool is that you have to understand it. For comments, you can understand complex logic just by seeing a comment, and you can explain concepts by using comments. You can guide your users or guide whoever is going through your code using comments. All right. So guys, now I would love to hear from you through the comment section. If you have any questions, if you have any particular thing you are confused about, please guys, leave them below in the comment section and I'll do it to reply you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next class. Happy coding.